After that beautiful little insult there. Hi, Liane. How are you?
Hi! Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. Jokes. We're totally recording this in November, but here we are.
God, it is still November, isn't it? I thought it was at least December.
Just a side note. Can you hear the blender?
No.
Oh, thank fuck for that. Okay, so
Why are you blending?
I'm not personally, obviously, but
Oh.
people didn't get the memo in the house that to shut the fuck up while we record a podcast. Tough Love Tuesday. Here we are, first one of the year. Super buzzing about this one. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like we're gonna get really passionate about it. I certainly am. So today we wanted to talk about the fact that it actually costs money to run a business, because this seems to be something that a lot of people seem to forget. Wouldn't you agree?
Amen. Yes.
But I don't understand why. Like, how do you? How? Like, I get that a lot of us just kind of go, fuck it, I'll start a business. Like, oh, that'll work. Or I'm going to sell this thing to my friend, and then all of a sudden so many more people want to buy it. So I'll just start a business, and then it just kind of snowballs, I guess.
It definitely
But
does creep up on you. Like, especially if you're... So I was side hustling before I full hustled. I hate that term, but I was doing it on the side before I was doing it full time. And when you're doing it on the side, like 25 quid for a Squarespace subscription doesn't really make much difference, because you still have a salary as well.
yeah,
And then when you go full time, you realize there's so much more that you need to be doing with your money as well, like insurance and pensions and actually paying yourself. And money does kind of disappear a lot quicker at that point. So it definitely does snowball, creep up on you a little bit.
And I mean, to be fair, before we hit record, we were just sat here like, what do I actually pay for? How much does my business cost to run?
Laura knows down to the pound. I have no idea.
Yeah, but I'm moving out, so I kind of have to know.
I know. I mean, I already moved out, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you how much I spend on my business. I could tell you how much my council tax costs, but not my business.
Amazing. Really important thing to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we wanted to kind of do this as January's episode, because obviously January, new year, new me, like I'm going to start a business. I feel like it's probably going to be quite fitting. But in terms of like the thing that gripes you the most when you see it, what would you say are your big things? Because obviously we reeled off like what we pay for, and a very large proportion of my outgoings as a business is for a VA. And yet mine seems to be cheaper to run than yours did.
I mean, yes, we established that I actually don't know where my money goes. I think I spend around £500 a month on my business, but I actually couldn't tell you where all that money goes. So your guess is as good as mine.
But so maybe let's just chat about like the types of things that we do pay for, because actually it might just give an indication of what it takes to, or what it costs to run a business.
Yeah.
So let's start with, we'll end with social and stuff and marketing and shit, because insurance, that's pretty important.
Yeah, and something that I just didn't even think about until I was like 2 months into full-time business.
But so many people do forget it. I think it's one of those things, I've seen it in a couple of communities and like Facebook groups and things like that, where it's not until a client's asked for proof of insurance that they've gone, oh shit.
Yeah. No, to be fair, for me, it was just because Jess put her dinghy thing, her affiliate link thing in the co-working club Slack channel. That's what made me do it. Honestly, it took like 5 minutes once I actually sat down to do it.
And it's not that expensive.
No, I think I pay like less than 20 quid a month. Something like 12 or I feel like mine's or something.
£16 maybe.
Obviously, it changes depending on how much cover you need and what kind of work you do. But
yeah, I mean, I totally have no understanding of what that means, what that looks like for a product-based business. But in terms of talking about what we know for service-based business,
with product-based businesses, if you're going to markets or like going to sell anywhere in person, then you need public liability insurance as well, don't you? So there's a whole other kettle of fish for product-based businesses.
Yeah, and actually they probably need it anyway, just because of selling physical products that, choking hazards and all that kind of stuff. There's always going to be that potential of that happening. So if you haven't already, or if you're planning on starting a business, go and look up insurance. Highly recommend, just in case.
Look at Dingy. Dingy is, well, obviously I'm speaking
Dingy's
from
the one.
service-based business here, but Dingy is specifically designed for freelancers, so you can like change the amount of cover you need, and it's just really, it's easy peasy. I know
Also,
fuck all about insurance, and I managed to do it on Dingy.
if we can do it, you can do it too. What else are we paying for? Accountancy.
Yes.
So I don't have an accountant. Do you have an
I do.
accountant?
Well, I pay someone to do my tax return, but I don't have an accountant like throughout the year.
But accountancy software, Christ on a bike, I cannot tell you. When
Christ
I
on a
first started,
bike. I haven't heard that in a while. Thanks for bringing that back into my life.
when I first started my business, it was one of the first things I did was create a QuickBooks account. Now I know there's going to be a voice of opinion. Liane's just giving me a look if you can't see us, if you're not watching, because there's a heated debate about QuickBooks versus Xero. I'm not getting into it. I don't care that much. As long as I've got somewhere to send invoices from and make the tax man not question me, I'm good. But QuickBooks was like the first thing that I did because it just made sense. Like, I don't understand people that do their accounts through like a spreadsheet.
It's more for me, like I definitely had a spreadsheet when I started side hustling, not gonna lie. But for me, the transition came when I needed to be sending the same invoice. Like when I had retained clients, I needed to be sending repeating invoices. I was making invoices in Canva, downloading them as PDFs and sending them via email. I was not going to be doing that long term. So for me,
And
it
like,
made
if you
sense.
think about how long that took you as well.
Yeah. Plus, also, if you don't already have a business bank account, if you get the Monzo Business Pro account, it costs a £5 a month. But one of the perks of it is it gives you, is it 3 months or 6 months? 3 months or 6 months free Xero subscription. So that's what I.
Whatever you do, if you're listening to this, don't take mine and Leanne's word as gospel. Let's just put that out there.
But that's what I did. So I got my business account set up, and then I went with Xero because it was free for the first 6 months. So yeah. I've never even looked at any other software, to be honest. I just went with the one that was free. So
fair.
It does what it needs to do. So it's all good.
Exactly. But it's one of those things that, again, you kind of don't think about, but actually when you get into the swing of things, it's just one of those things that I can't even imagine how much time that saved me.
Yeah.
I think I now pay, I'm sure it's like £9.60 a month for QuickBooks.
Really?
But just, but just to see all of my bank transactions, and we'll go on to banking in a minute, because actually you've just raised a really valid point. Just to see all of those transactions and just to be able to go, cool, that's the receipt for that, reconcile that, done. And I do that in like the first half an hour of my Monday morning, and then it's done. And I'm like, cool, I now don't need to think about it, worry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than having like a folder somewhere on a computer that's got an invoice that I need to send somebody, like, make your life easier by having processes. I think is what I'm getting at.
That's the thing. I think it's easy to think when you're just starting out that you just need to like make the thing or do the service and then get money for it, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes that people don't think about, and that's the stuff that costs money ultimately, or it costs your time. I think that's the big thing. If it's going to take you 20 minutes to send one invoice, then is it worth just signing up to Xero or QuickBooks, paying a bit of money and saving yourself that 20 minutes, especially if you're going to have 20 minutes times like 30 a month or something like that.
And that's the thing, like, I completely understand that some people will be like, yeah, but it's a tenner. And like, to a lot of people, the tenner is a lot of money. But in terms of exchange for the time back, 100%, like, Liane will contest to this, I'm so like icky about money. If I don't need to spend it, I ain't spending it. So like, I'm a saver. So if I can spend a tenner on something that we wouldn't be talking about this if I didn't think it was important, kind of thing. Like, I'm not about wasting people's money and signing up to random shit, but it's just one of those things that I don't think I've realized how much time it saves me. So well worth the investment, even when you're starting out. But also onto business banking, because the amount of people that I've come across that don't have a separate account.
Oh, it hurts me inside. That how
Ah!
do you deal with that? Like how?
I don't know, because I can't, like, my control freak brain goes like, how can I tell the difference between if I've just spent £4 in McDonald's? Is that that's not a business expense, pal?
Well,
That's
it could be, depending on who you're with.
Liane, we're not accountants.
No,
Don't fall down that rabbit
we're
hole.
not accountants. No, but that it does really genuinely stress me out. Like I don't know how else to say it, but just make them separate, because otherwise, how do you know what's coming in from actual work and what's coming in from like your gran sending you 20 quid? Like,
I wish my nan sent me 20 quid.
Me too. But yeah,
But again, we're not financial advisors, so go and do your research. But not every account costs money. And fun fact, which I found out quite early on, if you're a sole trader, it doesn't actually need to be a business bank account. It can just be a normal account.
It can.
So you don't necessarily have to pay for it. So you use Monzo.
I do.
I'm with Starling.
Yeah.
They're quite similar,
They are
aren't
quite
they?
similar.
But
the only reason I
for
use
mine.
Monzo is because my personal banking's with Monzo anyway, so it just makes sense.
Oh, nice.
And the reason I pay for Monzo, £5 a month, is because that unlocks the like automatic tax saving thing. So every time money goes into my account, Monzo takes 20% of every, what's that word? Deposit, with the opposite of withdrawal. Deposit. Every 20% of every deposit into my account then goes into a tax savings pot in my Monzo bank. So I don't need to worry about tax. One of my biggest fears is screwing up my tax return, not paying enough tax, and having a tax man literally knock on my door. It scares the shit out of me.
Me too.
So just knowing that I've got 20% in a savings pot that just doesn't get touched.
I mean, this has gone very financial advisory, but also very valid point, because again, I know so many people that don't do it, and then they get their tax bill and then they go, how the hell am I going to pay that? And then the next year is spent trying to make more money to be able to pay off last year's tax bill. Just put a percentage aside. And again, if this doesn't tell you how freakish I am about money, your tax pot is 20%, mine's 25%.
Yeah, I mean, I just went with 20% because that was what Monzo told me to go with, but I might up it. But it is also, it's slightly depressing. When I look at my bank account, I can obviously see what's in my business current account and also what's in my tax savings pot. The amount of money that's just sitting there in my tax savings pot doing fuck all and waiting to be sent to the tax man is really
but when you do your tax return, there is you don't have that weight on your shoulders that everybody else has.
And I'm hoping
it's
for
amazing.
like a little pretend tax rebate as well. So I'm hoping that I've saved more tax than I need to.
So that is exactly why mine's 25%. So for the first, I'm coming up to do my third tax return, I think. You're going to be doing your first, is that right?
First full-time.
Self-employed. Yeah.
I did one last year, but because it was half employed, half not employed.
Yeah. So I think that was why, me being quite with money, I was like, well, if I up it, actually, after I pay my tax bill off, I have a nice savings account. I'm like, great, I can go on holiday or I can do whatever. So I'm kind of using it as a bit of a savings account as well.
But that makes sense, because if it just gets shaved off before you even have a chance to spend it, then that's great. Yeah. If money's sitting in my account, I will be tempted to spend it. I'm the opposite of you, Lorna. Like, if there's money there to spend, I want to spend it.
Yeah, that's lovely. But for anybody listening, book recommendation, Profit First, go read it. It's very interesting. Even if you don't completely follow it, it might just kind of, I think that's where I kind of got the 25% thing from, but it talks about paying yourself and all that kind of stuff as well. But let's move away from trying to be accountants, because I feel like we might get in trouble.
We are very much out of depth.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I think that's the understatement of the year, and this will be listened to on the 4th of January. What else costs money to run a business?
Well, for me, the rest of my expenses is majority like marketing stuff. So like active campaign for my emails, Squarespace for my website. Obviously, annoying little bits like paying for my email address is like £4 a month
Yes.
or something like that.
Yeah. So it's all that, like the little things that kind of 4, 6 quid, 20 quid, 12 quid, they all kind of add up, don't they? But I think it's just the reason I wanted to record this podcast, because I got very passionate about it. I remember the voice note I sent you, like, can we do this episode? Because it's really fucking me off. Because it's almost like I see in like Facebook, it's always Facebook groups. There's a common theme here. Get off Facebook, please.
Yes.
Is around the fact of like people will generally moan about, you know, whether it's Etsy fees or whether it's the fact that your reach is down on Instagram and you don't feel like they're showing you. That once probably about what 60, 70 years ago, you couldn't advertise without paying for it. You couldn't, you know, they didn't have, whether they didn't have the internet or 60, 70 years ago, the internet didn't exist. So you would have to design a poster and print it. That shit costs money. Put an advert in the newspaper. That costs money. Like, why are we now a society that expects everything for fucking free?
I know, it is annoying. And I think that, I mean, social media, there's a whole big topic here. That the thing that frustrates me is that people expect the world from something that they're not paying for. Like, and
yes.
It was when we're getting slightly off track here, but when the social dilemma came out and everyone was up in arms about like, oh, Facebook's collecting so much data about me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're using that platform for free. Your payment to use that platform is giving people access to your data. Like, that's what you sign up for when you sign up to use that platform. And I think it's the same for businesses, like on Instagram and stuff. Like, you're using that platform for free. You can't expect miracles. You literally, Instagram would have no business model if it was just going to show your stuff to every single potential buyer that existed on Instagram. There's no business model there for them. They need to, it doesn't make sense, Lorna.
Yes, the router up. Yes, nailed it.
I mean, the second coffee of the morning is helping, but
oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, I've ranted and raved about it on a solo podcast episode before, I think, but it does just annoy me because you just kind of think, well, at some point you have to remember that these things are businesses with employees that also need paying. And whilst I completely understand that, you know, you want to grow your business and all this, that, and the other, you can't expect the world from a free platform. So at some point you've got to kind of realize that you've got to invest some money, because if you don't, like, what are you expecting? I don't really.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the next Bill Gates, are you?
But there's that annoying saying that I don't really like, but you have to spend money to make money. And it kind of applies to small businesses as well, because I mean, you can get a decent way into your business without spending loads and loads of money, but at some point you have to be willing to put money on the table to reach that next level, to reach more buyers, because it's
skin in the game.
Exactly. And it also it gives you a kick up the arse as well. This is something that we've spoken about before, is that if you pay for something, you're more likely to actually use it properly and to actually make the most of it. Whereas if you're just using it for free, like, you've got no skin in the game, like you just said.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot, but I also feel like it was a lot of accountancy stuff. Is there anything else that you can think of that's not marketing, accountancy, or what was the other one? Don't know. Pass. You can tell we're spitballing and we're not notes peoples here. Is there anything else that costs money to run a business? Is there anything else that we can fall into that little bracket before we sign this episode off?
Just trying to think. Well, see, as we've established,
you're allowed to say no.
Established already, I don't actually know where my £500 a month on my business goes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All I can say.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I think all I would add is services. So, you know, if you're not a photographer, if you're not great with words, if you're not great at marketing, if you're not whatever, expect to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, also, the two of us, I do email marketing. Liane does everything words related. One of my biggest expenses is my VA. And, you know, she could do fucking anything for me, to be quite frank. Sometimes it's replying to my emails, sometimes it's sorting out my inbox, sometimes it's creating Pinterest graphics, whatever it is. But you have to expect to pay for that stuff. If you need help, like, there's one thing getting your little second cousin who's finished school for the day to do it. But if you want professional help and you want like an experienced copywriter to help you rewrite an entire website, you got to expect to pay for that, don't you?
I was actually thinking about this morning while I was putting my makeup on and thinking about this episode. No, but the fact that like you can bootstrap your business, you can build your own website, you can write your own copy, you can send your own emails, you can run your own social media, but there is a point at which people, like your customers, your audience, can see that it's not being done professionally, like, and it does make a difference. Like, I know I'm a copywriter, obviously, so I'm very critical of copy anywhere that I see it. But yes,
she is.
No,
she's not lying.
But it comes in useful sometimes.
I mean, you took down Costa or Pret the other day in our voice notes. Yeah,
Pret annoys me. Sometimes they're really great. Sometimes they're just shit and bland. Anyway, if I go onto a website that is very clearly DIY'd, and like even from like an aesthetic perspective as well, I'm not a designer, but
AKA she's looking at mine.
Not yours. Yours is fine.
Mine's DIY'd.
No, but I mean like properly DIY'd and just cobbled together. People can tell that. Like, I wouldn't buy from a company that doesn't look like they've put some money behind doing some things professionally. Like, I know there is
there's a trust factor,
exactly.
Isn't there?
And I'm not saying that I would never buy from like someone who's doing it as a side hustle, or like there are lots of elements that go into a buying decision, but one of them is seeing a business that actually looks like a business, not just like someone in their basement doing it for fun. I feel like I might have gone a step too far there.
No, I love it. Liane, we were voice noting first thing this morning because we're actually pre-recording this. We weren't joking. We're in November currently. But we woke up and we were like, we're going to do these really early and just, pre-record some and absolutely flash through them. And she sent me a voice note that was so savage that I was like, today's going to be fun. Well, on that note, let's end how we always do. Takeaway from what was your biggest takeaway from this, Liane? What would be the one key bit of advice that you would like to tell people as they start a new year? No pressure.
So I think recognize the value of your own time and spend money on things that are going to take you longer than they need to take someone to do. That doesn't make much sense. But if it's going to take you...
I don't know if we've just... I think like we're morphing into the same person. But that made sense to me.
If something's going to take you like 2 weeks to do and it's going to take a professional 2 days to do, then what's worth it more? Like, do you value that money more, or do you value your 2 weeks of time more? Like, that's the main thing for me. If it's going to take you forever, then just spend some money on it and get it done properly.
I mean, considering the last 23 minutes, that felt like a very mature takeaway.
I'm a very mature person.
Okay, if you say so. But I think that's actually a really valid point. I remember going to like some seminar or networking thing or something, and it was when I'd first started my business, and this woman, literally, she was a boss. Like, she was multi-million pound, like, and I was just kind of stood there looking at her like, what the fuck? But she actively stood at the front and said, like, I have a cleaner, I have someone who does my ironing and someone who does my washing, and I'm going to hire a chef as well, because that stuff takes up my time that I could be using spending time on the business. And you kind of sit there and kind of go, some people would get really judgmental about that, but actually
I feel the same way, particularly about cleaners, because I fucking hate cleaning. It's not
that's the bit. If you don't like doing it as well, that kind of bundles into it, doesn't it? Because you're going to procrastinate on it. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to hate it. So if you could just pay somebody else to do it who likes doing it, is quicker at doing it,
just get it
happy
done.
days.
Put some money behind it and get it done.
Amazing. And I think my takeaway would just be stop fucking moaning, and businesses cost money to run.
It's ironic.
Sorry.
It's ironic
Like-
that you're saying stop fucking moaning because you're the biggest moaner in the
Wait,
world.
there she is. I can't believe you just said that on my podcast.
You invited
How
me
does
on
this
here,
happen?
mate. I'm the guest. I can say what I want. Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm. She's like part of the house furniture now. Great. Well, on that delightful note, Happy New Year, pals. Wishing you every success in 2022 and beyond. And if you need a copywriter, Liane's probably your girl. Maybe, possibly. Depends if you can put up with the savage. She's not this horrible to clients, just me.
No, I'm not this horrible to clients. It depends on the client.
No. And if you need help with your email, or if you're a product-based business and you'd like to sell more stuff this year, then hit me up. As per usual, I'll put links to both of our socials. Come and chat to us we're both predominantly on Instagram, aren't we, pal? But no doubt we'll be promoting this episode. So come and start the conversation with us. Does it piss you off that, people moan about businesses, like it costs money to run their business? Do you spend more running your business than you thought you ever would? Come and have a conversation with us. That's all we're trying to do, is open the chat channels and have conversations. Any last words, Liane?
None.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Happy
Enjoy
New
your year.
Year.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.